Okay, so before we dive into the workshop, we can talk about the interesting facts about our EI program. So our employment insurance program has been around for quite a long time and has experienced a lot of changes since it first began. It was first made in 1940, and back then it was actually called unemployment insurance. So the unemployment insurance program was first created to provide financial assistance to unemployed people and to help disadvantaged individuals and populations. And the idea of unemployment insurance program was made in 1940, but it didn't fully take action, or it wasn't implemented until a year later in 1941. It recently had a name change from unemployment insurance to employment insurance in 1996. And it is what we call the financial assistance program now. Along with this new name change in 1996, the requirements to be eligible for EI have changed as well. Some key differences include how they view the number of hours that you've worked instead of the number of weeks. How the required hours to be eligible has increased. And the eligibility for this program takes your income and your earnings into consideration. So if you see on the chart on the right side of the screen, the first four pies have a really big, large pink space, which represents the easy accessibility that people had before the big changes in 1996. Like you can see on the pie chart of 1990, 83% of people had accessibility to the EI program. And when they implemented the new changes for the employment insurance program in 1996, it went down from 83% to 49% of accessibility. So diving in, we have a roadmap for today's workshop of 4 steps to applying for employment insurance. The first step is understanding employment insurance. The second step is knowing eligibility. The third step is applying. And the last step is overcoming or facing obstacles. Okay. And on to the first step, which is understanding employment insurance, or EI. So what is EI, or employment insurance? So basically, it is a program that provides benefits, namely financial assistance, towards individuals who have lost their jobs through no fault of their own. Or in better terms, it's not the individual's fault or choice that they have lost their job position. It is also specifically called EI, or employment insurance regular benefits, because there's a lot of different types of benefits that are provided in the EI program. So it is called specifically regular benefits because of the needed criteria of where the individual has to have lost their job by no fault of their own to be eligible and is unable to find a job position at the moment. So how much could I be eligible for EI regular benefits? So the Government of Canada will take in all your necessary information into consideration and use this information to calculate how much financial assistance that you could be entitled to. According to the Government of Canada, you could be eligible for 55% of your earnings. And starting from January 2022, the maximum amount that someone could be eligible for is $60,300. So let's take the last information as an example to visualize how much someone can get with maximum benefits. So the maximum amount that someone could be eligible for is $60,300. So if an individual is eligible for the maximum amount of benefits for a year and takes payments weekly, they are receiving $638 a week of financial assistance from the EI regular benefits program. So let's have a little true or false game with the information that we just touched on. You can answer with messaging in the chat box, If you'd like, you could use your mic to answer as well, whatever you're comfortable with, whatever is most comfortable for you. So the statement on the screen, it says, an individual who is eligible for EI or employment insurance could receive a maximum amount of 55% of their earnings. Is this true or is this statement false? So we have one true, we have two trues, we have three trues, maybe a little bit more. Oh my goodness, everyone said true. Majority of the audience said true. Oh, we have one false. Okay. So with this statement of true and false, the answer is actually true. Yes, an eligible person applying for EI regular benefits could receive up to 55% of their earnings from this program. Yay! Good job, everyone. All right, on to the next step, which is step 2, knowing eligibility. For step 2, we will split this into 2 parts. So we will explore the eligibility for EI regular benefits. And then the second part, we will explore the eligibility for specific benefits that are targeted towards different populations, because there are many different benefits that could apply for different situations. So for the first part of step 2, we will explore regular benefits, which is available towards the general public. So in the first part of step 2, we'll dive into the eligibility for EI regular benefits. As a reminder, it is eligible for individuals who are seeking financial assistance and have lost their employment by no fault of their own. It is written on the screen, but we'll go through it together. The first requirement is that you would have to be employed in an insured work environment where your workplace was insured of any loss, claims, or damages that could have happened in your workplace. Number 2, I keep mentioning this, but it's very important. It's a very important requirement where the individual must have lost their job and it was not their fault. Some examples could include maybe losing your job because the business that you've worked for has shut down. The person has lost their job in this scenario, but it's not their fault that the company has shut down. So this individual is eligible to apply. Another scenario is if a company is issuing mass layoffs and letting many of their employees go. So it's not the employee's choice to leave the business or company that they've worked for. So the employees who have been let go are all eligible to apply for EI regular benefits. And one last scenario could be if an organization has limited space and resources to accommodate for COVID-19 protocols, because now with the pandemic, many workplaces could have limited space for their employees, and maybe they don't need people working from home and is letting people go for this reason. So in this situation, it's not the individual's fault or choice to leave. So they would be able to be eligible to apply for EI regular benefits. And going to the next point, is if an individual has been without work or without pay for 7 straight days. So within the last year or 52 weeks, you would have to be without work or without pay for 7 straight days. So if you're waiting for your last paycheck from your previous employment, you will have to wait and receive it before you start applying for EI regular benefits. And even when you do receive it, you will have to wait 7 days after before you start applying. The next point is if an individual is willing, ready, and capable to work. And the last requirement is if the individual is also actively seeking job positions. Like this could include if you're looking for, you're looking online or in person for job positions, or if you're handing out resumes to employers, or even fixing up your resume. Any action that is put towards looking for another employment position counts. So now that we finished with the eligibility for employment insurance regular benefits, we will go explore the second section of step 2, which are the specific benefits for different populations. So this is the specific benefits of the EI program, which could be used for different situations. So I'll be touching on maternal and parental benefits, sickness benefits, caregiver benefits, and self-employed benefits. So with maternal and parental benefits, maternal benefits applies to individuals who are pregnant or have given birth and cannot work. For parental benefits, this applies to individuals who are parents of a newborn baby or a newly adopted child. And then this is for sickness benefits. This applies to people who are unable to work for medical reasons. Some medical reasons such as like injury or illness that prevents an individual from working long periods of time. I also want to mention for sickness benefits, I feel like it's important to check with your employer or if, with your company if there is a sick paid leave plan that they can provide before you start considering EI sickness benefits. Next, we have the caregiver benefits. This applies to people who are unable to work due to needing to care for or needing to support a critically ill person or someone who needs end-of-life care. This individual who needs to dedicate their time to taking care of a critically ill person is unable to work and is eligible for caregiver benefits. And finally, we have self-employed benefits. This benefit applies to individuals who are self-employed, whether it's running your own business or if you control over 40% of the company's voting shares. This benefit can apply for self-employed individuals who need to take time off work to take care of themselves or their family from a long period of time. Each situation is different. All right. So now on the screen, we have this chart that tells you the maximum weeks and maximum amount of money that someone can get when they apply for these specific benefits. So for example, on the screen, we have the maternity benefits where you'll be able to get a maximum of 15 weeks off. And each week you'll be able to get, they'll be able to provide you with a maximum amount of $638. For parental, you can get either 40 or 69 weeks. It depends on your situation. And along with that, you could get a maximum amount of $638 or $383 a week. Though, like I said, it does depend on your situation. For sickness, you can get a maximum of 15 weeks off. And similar to previously mentioned benefits, you can be entitled to $638 a week of financial assistance. For caregiver benefits, there are a lot of options. As you can see on the screen, the amount of weeks that you can be entitled to depends on your different situation and who you're caring for. Some factors can include like age, whether the person you're caring for is over or under 18 years old, or whether the person that you're caring for or supporting is coming to the end of their life. And similar to the previous mentioned benefits, you can be entitled to a maximum of $638 a week. And finally, for self-employed benefits, you can be eligible for a maximum amount of 52 weeks. And similar to what I've already said, you can be entitled to $638 a week of financial benefits. It's a lot. And with the chart on the screen, it's a bar graph that tells you how many employment insurance applications have been registered and how many have been approved. And with this data set, this began like all the way in the beginning when it was called unemployment insurance in 1941 until the date of September 27, 2020. So this data set is from 1941 to 2020. That's a really long time. And within this time, there are 7,524,800 applications that have been registered. And out of all those applications, 5,683,990 applications have been approved. And on the screen at the moment, this is a pie chart that shows the number of different benefits that are still currently active to this day. So with regular benefits taking the majority of the pie, as you can see, it's the green section. There are 563,060 active regular benefits. And there are 184,900 active benefits for maternity and parental benefits. There are 83,130 active sickness benefits. There are 5,450 active caregiver benefits. And lastly, there are 740 active benefits for self-employed individuals. All right, that was a lot to take in, but we do have another true and false quiz for step 2. So on the statement on the screen, it says, if you have quit your job by your own choice, you are able to apply for employment insurance or EI regular benefits. Like I said earlier, you can write in the chat what you think your answer is. Oh, we have a lot of falses. Maybe a few more seconds to have everyone have their answer. I could not count, but I know there's a lot of falses in the chat. But yes, the answer is false. You guys are correct. Someone cannot apply for EI regular benefits if they have quit their job or left their job by their own choice. They would have to be without employment when it wasn't their fault. Good job, everyone. Okay, so now moving on to step 3, which is applying. So there are 2 ways to apply for employment insurance. The first one being in person through a Service Canada location, and the second way is to apply online through the Government of Canada's website. For applying in person, you can go to the Government of Canada's website and look up where you can find a Service Canada location near you, like on the screen. And even in this section, you can scroll down and you can type your address to see if there's a Service Canada near you. And you can even see their business hours to see when you're able to go and get service. For applying for employment insurance online, I will split this into 2 parts, where the first part we will focus on the required items that you need before applying. And the second part will focus on the process of applying through the Government of Canada's website. So we will go through this process with a scenario using my friend, Tommy Bowie. So this is Tommy Bowie. As you can see on the screen, this is his information, which we will use to apply for employment insurance online. As you can see, his name is Tommy Bowie, and he lives on 123 Blue Avenue. His gender is male. He is currently 22 years old. He's provided his SIN number, and his marital status is single. So now that we got to learn a little bit about my friend Tommy, this is Tommy Bowie's situation at the moment. So Tommy is a 22-year-old single male who is currently unemployed. He has worked as a barista for the Orange Cafe for 3 years before the Orange Cafe has gone out of business and has been shut down, leaving my friend Tommy to be unemployed. So Tommy wants to apply for employment insurance regular benefits for financial assistance while he is currently looking for another job position. So on the screen, here is a list of required items that Tommy needs before he starts his employment insurance application. And this list also applies to anyone who is trying to apply for employment insurance online or in person. So this is Tommy's checklist, and we will go through it together. So the first on the list is he needs to have met the required number of working hours. So in our location, our minimum required hours are to have 420 working hours within the last year or 52 weeks. Next, you need a SIN card or a SIN paper that has your SIN number. Then the next point is the last name at birth from one of his parents. Next is his mailing or residential address. The next point is the banking information, which is needed for direct deposit, which is a way for the government to be able to send your financial benefits straight into your bank account. Another thing that Tommy needs is a record of employment. A record of employment is provided from your previous employer. And in this case, Tommy will request this information from his employer at the Orange Cafe. And finally, Tommy needs the name of the employer or the company, which is the Orange Cafe, and the address and the dates of employment that he has worked at the Orange Cafe, and the reason why Tommy is without a job. So as you can see on the screen, on Tommy's checklist, he has everything checked off. So he has everything he needs. So we're good to go on to the process of applying for employment insurance online. So the first step to applying online is to go to the Government of Canada's website, like shown on the screen, and then look for the section that says EI Regular Benefits. And since Tommy wants to apply for regular benefits, this is the section that you need to be. And when you arrive to this section, you're able to scroll down the page, and then you can find the Start Application button, like circled on the screen on the right side, and you click that button. So once the application process has begun, it will start asking you some questions, with the first one being specifying which type of benefit that you are applying for. And as said earlier, Tommy wants to apply for regular benefits. So we will click on the regular benefits, like circled on the screen. But as you can see, it also has the different types of benefits that we explored in step 2 for different situations. But for Tommy, it's regular benefits. So we'll click on regular benefits. So the next round of questions will ask for your personal information and your SIN number or your social insurance number. So the documents on the left side of the screen are a SIN card or SIN paper, because there are 2 versions of your SIN number, but both ways are valid to use. And then on the right side of the screen is the application question, where you could input your information. So for Tommy's case, you can see at the top, he wrote his SIN number, and then he wrote his birthday, and then Tommy wrote his last name, and then his first given name, and then the last name at birth. And then he has checked off his gender, which is male. And then the last question asks for parents' last name at birth, and it's Bowie. So he wrote down Bowie. So on the next question, it will ask about your tax credit. And since Tommy is single with no spouse or common law partner, he will click on the basic option. But for people who are applying and they have a legally bound partner or a dependent, they will have to click the basic and spouse button. So the next part will ask about Tommy's banking information for direct deposit. So the first part asks if you have used direct deposit for a previous claim for employment insurance. So since this is Tommy's first time applying, he will click no, like circled on the screen. And then the second part will ask if Tommy has their banking information, which he does. So he'll click the option that says, I have my banking information with me. You can also see that there are options for this part if this applies to you, if you don't use direct deposit, or if you don't have your banking information at the moment. So this next part will touch upon previous employment history. And as you can see in the screen, Tommy has inputted his information, which is like where he worked, which is the Orange Cafe. And then he also had the phone number of his employer. And then he added his first day working at the Orange Cafe and the last day that he has worked at the Orange Cafe. And then the question at the bottom asks, will you be returning to work with this employer? So in Tommy's specific case, the Orange Cafe has been shut down and now is out of business. So he'll have to click the no option since he will not be returning to this employer. So next, it will also ask for Tommy's reason for separation from the company. And there are a lot of different options for different types of circumstances, as you can see on the screen. So since we know that the Orange Cafe has gone bankrupt and has been shut down, you will click the option that says employer went bankrupt option, just like circled on the screen. And then you can proceed to the next part, which is another part for employment history. But in this section, it will ask for Tommy's job position. So when Tommy worked at the Orange Cafe, we know that he has worked as a barista. So that is his job title. So he will type in his position in the first circle that we see on the screen. And then you'll have to click the search button, just like what the arrow is referring to. And then you will have to click, so you have to click the job position in the box that we see at the bottom to highlight his job position. So he can specify what he has worked as, and then we'll be able to go on to the next part. And then now we will touch on the record of employment, or ROE, which can be obtained from your previous employer. And there are a lot of different options available for different situations. And in Tommy's case, he has requested the ROE, or the record of employment, from his employer from the Orange Cafe, in which his employer will submit this information of the ROE, or record of employment, to the government. So the employer will do that. And that was the final part for applying for employment insurance regular benefits. So I would like to ask y'all, was Tommy able to apply for EI regular benefits? You could type in yes or no. Do you think we have helped my friend Tommy? Yes. 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 Yes, the answer is yes. We went through the process of applying for EI regular benefits and helped my friend Tommy complete the application. Yay! So before we finish off with step 3, I want to touch on the aftermath, or what happens after your application for employment insurance. So after the government of Canada has received your application, they will mail you a personal access code, or PAC. And maybe this will take 2-3 weeks, depending on delivery and mailing times. But this personal access code is very important and specifically made for you. So be careful to not lose it or give this information to someone else. And with this personal access code, it's needed to create a My Service Canada account, which is where you can see or look at the status of your employment insurance application. So after you received your personal access code, you can go to the Government of Canada's website and look for the section that says My Service Canada account, register with GC key, as you can see on the screen. And then when you scroll a bit to the bottom, you could see the option to register for your My Service Canada account, like circled on the screen. And after you've registered, you'll be able to, you'll be taken to the main screen of the My Service Canada domain. And then you can see the 2 options at the bottom, one saying employment insurance, and the other option is Canada Pension Plan and Old Age Security. Since this is the since we are looking for the employment insurance application, we will click on employment insurance, like circled on the screen. But I also want to mention that it's helpful to have this My Service Canada account, because you can have access to other programs that you might be going into besides employment insurance. So once you've clicked on employment insurance, it'll take you to this page with the title that says Your Claims. And near the bottom of the screen, you'll be able to click on the option that says View My Claim Status and Messages, like circled on the screen. And then once you click that, you'll be able to see this page about your latest claim status. On the top, it says latest claim status, and then the message below that will tell you if a decision has been made, or if the message will say if your application is still pending. And then on the red circle that is circled on the screen, you can see the status of your claim, where you can see if your application is still under review, or if it gets approved or rejected, or when it gets finalized, which is another way to say that the claims have stopped and you have stopped taking financial assistance from this employment insurance program. All right, so now to the final step of this workshop, which is step 4, facing or overcoming obstacles. So some obstacles or issues that one might face when applying for employment insurance. So the first point I want to touch on is if someone doesn't have enough working hours to be eligible to apply. So I mentioned earlier, but as a reminder again, the minimum requirement in our location is to have reached 420 working hours within the last year or 52 weeks. So maybe if an individual has contract work or temporary jobs, they may not meet the minimum required working hours within 1 year, which could be a struggle for this particular individual who is trying to apply for employment insurance. The next obstacle is the additional documentation that is needed for your employment insurance application. So an example could be your record of employment, or ROE. So your record of employment is taken or obtained from your last or previous employer. So they have the documentations that is needed for your application. And it is also their responsibility to hand this information to the government. And this could pose as a struggle to some individuals who are applying for employment insurance due to different situations, such as maybe your employer went MIA after the business shut down, or maybe if your previous employer didn't hand in your information on time, which could affect your full extent of financial benefits that if you get approved for your application. So the next point I want to touch on are long waiting times. So long waiting times are another obstacle that one might face when applying for employment insurance. So if you need to talk to someone about your employment insurance application, you can go talk to a representative on the call line if you need their help. But when it comes to this point, I would like to emphasize that you should plan your calls accordingly and make sure you have the time and have no clashing or scheduled meetings or appointments or plans that could interrupt the call. Because from personal experience, when I was applying for employment insurance and I had to talk to a call representative, it took me 6 hours to be connected to someone. And you know what, that's a long time. That is a very long time, 6 hours to be connected to someone. But at this time, it was the peak of COVID time. So it's like a 2020 when everyone, or majority of everyone, was on employment insurance or CERB. So now, according to the website, the average time to be connected with a call representative is 30 minutes, about 30 minutes. But just in case, I would like to emphasize to be prepared in case it takes longer. So the next point are technical issues and accessibility, which could be an obstacle that one might face when applying for employment insurance. Technology could affect someone in different ways. So maybe an individual needs additional help going through the application process to make sure everything is correct. Or maybe an individual doesn't have stable internet, which could affect their application process. Or maybe an individual doesn't have their own device to apply online. The next point I like to touch on is specific banking information. So there are specific banking information that is needed for your employment insurance application process, such as your transit number, your account number, and your branch number. And just like hearing it now, this information is not necessarily common to know, but it is easy to access. So one, maybe you could go to your local bank and ask for this information, and you can have a physical copy of it. Or if you have a banking account online, you should be able to access this information as well through your banking online account. And the last point I would like to touch on are the strict deadlines for specific benefits for maternity and parental individuals. So according to the Government of Canada's website, it is important to start your application for your parental or for your maternity benefits starting the week that the child is born or when the child got adopted. So an example would be if you have adopted a child and they will be living with you starting today, you will need to apply on the same date for EI parental benefits to be able to get the full extent of financial assistance that you are eligible to receive. And for the final engagement for this workshop, we finished step 4. So I would like to ask y'all, is there any obstacle that you think you might face if you plan on applying for employment insurance? I mentioned earlier, it was the call, it was the long call times to be connected with someone. So if anyone is comfortable to share, you can type it in the chat. If someone does not have a computer, how would they update their information? Yeah, exactly. Maybe there are a lot of different like solutions you could do for this. Maybe you could rent out a laptop, or maybe you can have someone help you with that. Like us, we will be able to help you for your employment insurance application. I know with my parents, yes, they needed help from me to have their employment insurance application. When can we get the ROE from employer? So you can get your record of employment starting the day that you have been let go from that company or organization. You just have to contact them, and they have that information, and it's their responsibility to submit that information to the government. So yeah, starting from the day that you have been let go, you can ask for this information to be submitted. Okay, and I think that is it for step 4. So I'll continue on. So that is a wrap up for the 4 steps on a laid off day. Yes, the laid off day. I remember when I was laid off, like the day of they have submitted my ROE or record of employment to the government. Okay, so that is a wrap up. Let's quickly review the 4 steps to applying for employment insurance. Step 1, understanding employment insurance. So now we know that the EI program is a program providing financial assistance towards people who have lost their job and it was not their fault. And then we went on to step 2, which is knowing eligibility. We discussed the requirements to be able to apply for EI regular benefits and touched on the different and specific types of benefits that are available in the program. And then next we have step 3, applying. There are 2 ways to apply for employment insurance. Number 1, you could go to a Service Canada location and apply in person, or number 2, you can apply online through the Government of Canada's website. And step 4, overcoming and facing obstacles. There are many different circumstances that can affect someone from applying for EI because not everyone has the same situation. But we hope with this workshop, you'll be able to work through these issues and issues that you may have and overcome them. And thank you so much for your engagement and your participation.